You're running a shop floor, not a Pinterest interest board or a fantasy football league. You don't need inspiration, you need things to work. So welcome to Build Your Way, a podcast from Cetec ERP. This is a show for manufacturers who are in it every day, from quoting and shipping jobs to troubleshooting quality and material shortages, all while staying a step ahead of what's next. We bring you stories from the field, lessons that stick, and strategies that actually scale to help you build better. Let's get to work.
Welcome back to the Cetec ERP Build Your Way podcast. My name is Taylor Wagon.
And I'm Scott Ryan. And this time we have with us Kristin Wheatley.
Kristin Wheatley, yes.
Excellent. Your shirt says TMAC.
TMAC. Yes.
What is TMAC?
It's from like Beverly Ratters.
Yeah. There's actually a lot of TMACs. There is confusion. Mine is the Texas Manufacturers Assistance Center. TMAC.
Awesome. And what do you do? What do they do?
What did they do? Well, it's the Texas version of the Manufacturing Extension Partnership, which comes from the U.S. Department of Commerce. The mission being to support small and mid-sized manufacturers in their journey to grow successfully. And so we help small and mid-sized manufacturers get better at whatever it is that they do.
What counts as small and mid-size?
Well, the government says small is anything under 500 employees, which is actually pretty big for us. Most of our client companies are, I would say, easily under 200, and most of them well under 100. So pretty small companies. Bigger companies have all the resources they need, so they don't really need us.
What's the makeup of the kind? Like, what kind of manufacturers are they?
Well, in this area, we have a lot of machine shops, lots of machine shops, a little bit of electronics assembly, PCB stuff, custom electronics assembly. We've got some pretty big companies in the area, Flex, whatever they're calling themselves these days, that do a lot of that. But there's some smaller companies around that do sort of similar things. Yeah. But we have, you name it, like food and beverage manufacturers. There's a few smaller ones, a lot of startup in the food and beverage, but then once they get big enough, they kind of have to get away from here because there's not a lot of the support ecosystem in the Austin area. Refrigerated storage is not very common. Real estate's too expensive. But a few food and beverage, medical device companies, there's a few of those around. Who are making or designing medical device or components. You name it, lots of stuff.
Any that you just will not work with, or that you prefer not to work with?
Yeah, prefer not to.
Who just sucks? Candidly, who just sucks?
I really don't like meat packing and sausage making and stuff. I just been there, not really excited about that. You just don't need to see that. Yeah, that's not my favorite. Those guys.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah. My mom has given up processing the deer that my dad shoots, largely because of that.
And now it just goes to the place.
The deer that he, in theory, shoots, because that's been a while since we've seen one of those.
That's funny. So I like the whole argument. I remember somebody trying to tell me about how it's free meat.
Oh yeah,
it's free meat,
really expensive free meat.
And you're like, man,
the truck and the camper and the guns and
and in Texas, if you don't own land, you have to pay for you have to rent out a lease, and yeah.
I'm from Colorado, and I used to wonder why Texas people came to shoot deer in Colorado. I'm like, this is a long ways to go to get free deer meat, But then I came here and I saw how small the deer are, and now I get it.
The snack size.
Yeah.
For those of you who are not aware, Texas does have a lot of deer, but they are not large animals.
I grew up in 4-H.
Oh, really? In ag land. Okay.
Rancher, cows and chickens and rabbits and that kind of stuff. And, so you had to, you're going to grow those turkeys. You got to pluck them.
I have a friend who was something of a 4-H high school champion at sexing chicks.
Yeah, that's a skill.
At what?
Telling male from female chicks.
Oh.
Because, the roosters and the hens have different values in the world.
And when they're chicks, it's very hard. Like you think about it, could you hold an egg and tell? Probably not.
No,
Right.
I couldn't. But I like them all, so.
Yeah. So once they're hatched, you at least have a fighting chance, of determining. Normally I think the pink ones are hens and the blue ones are the other. But, if you're colorblind, there's like a whole new 4-H system that you have to follow for this. And he was really good at it. Louisiana 4-H chick sexing champion.
That's awesome. That is, they have that icebreaker where, tell us the thing that nobody knows.
Yeah. 2 truths and a lie.
There's the winner right there.
And that is not at all relevant to what we do here at Cetec ERP. We're going to talk more about manufacturing because that's fun. So the MEP programs, this is like, they're basically everywhere.
They are in all 50 states and Puerto Rico.
Okay.
Yep.
So pretty much if you are a manufacturer and you are in America, it turns out also we've run into this in Canada. I was talking to somebody about one in Poland today. That you have, these resources available to you.
Mm-hmm.
And so like if we're pitching, hey, you're a non-giant manufacturer, there are resources to help you get better.
Yeah, subsidized resources.
Subsidized.
Sometimes free resources, occasionally free resources, that are out there to help you. The Department of Commerce, ever since we signed NAFTA, way back in the day when we were going to join the global world, that they want to throw some money out there to help make sure that, it's funny how in 20 or 30 years, the whole world comes back around and, manufacturing is important. And how do we help manufacturers? And what can we do to provide resources and make sure that there's people out there that can come help you at, reasonable costs as you're trying to grow your business?
So in the interview before the interview, which was also known as lunch, at lunch, we were talking with Kristin about some of the diverse tasks that you end up taking on because, you think about it, like helping a manufacturer. That
could be a lot.
And surprisingly, actually, for you, it is. Like, it's not like they even gave you, like, focus on these things. It's like, no, pretty much whatever.
Yeah. Anything you can do, go do it.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's just another person to do a little research and answer some questions and, find some sources. I need a supplier for something. Do you know anybody? Can you find anybody? So yeah, it can be anything.
What are a couple of the hot topics?
What's hot? What's really blowing up in the MEP space?
Well, I'm definitely spending time on cybersecurity compliance.
Makes sense.
So the DoD and the federal government, they finally passed into law the CMMC compliance for anybody in the DoD supply chain needs to comply, and there's some steps that they need to go through in order to claim that they're compliant. And that's a big supply chain, big attractive supply chain. So people want to know that they are compliant and that when the question comes up, they can say, yes, we do it. And I like to remind them that it's not just because the government says you have to, but it's also because you as a business owner want to be secure, that you don't want your AP and AR to get, just diverted. You don't want your information as a business is just as important as the government's information. And so protecting it is good for you. So a lot of cybersecurity compliance kinds of things, a lot of quality system stuff about now. Once again, if you're having to, qualify a new supplier and you want to be that supplier, having a certified quality management system and actually getting some value out of it is a good thing for small companies to be able to compete for those contracts.
Yeah. So imagine, we have to use our imaginations. I'm a CEO. I'm an owner of a small PCB assembly shop, and I call you. What are maybe the top 2 or 3 questions you're hoping I'll ask? Like, what problems do you really like to solve?
What do I like to solve? I love data analytics kinds of questions and problems. Like, how do I understand my business better? How do I understand my profitability, and which pieces of my business am I, really making money on? Which pieces of business can I do better? Where can I get better at what I'm doing? The questions I get are not always those, but commonly things like plant layout. Plant layout can be kind of fun, kind of talking about like where should things be and why, and getting a lot of the first call is I just don't have enough space and real estate's expensive, and before I go buy another building, can you come and look? Is there anything we can do? Those are interesting, which leads into like how you do your inventory management, how you do your MRP, how much material do you have and why do you have it? And, being able to really streamline that process so that you don't need more space. Do a lot of work around lean manufacturing. And so, hard to convince them inventory is a waste. No, it makes us feel good.
It's my safety blanket.
It feels so good.
My wubby if you're a Charlie Brown.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But could convince them that, no, that's where, you're just taking up a lot of space, and that space is expensive, and you're heating it and you're cooling it and you're putting racks in it and you're driving forklifts around it. And so.
When you mentioned on the cybersecurity and the DoD driving, all this kind of thing that's trickling through the ecosystem, are you running into a lot of DPAS questions?
No.
Okay, there's a defense program that they can assign it's like defense priority.
Oh, the priority acquisition. So what level of CMMC you have to comply to has a lot to do with what level of acquisition priority you're in.
And it flows down. So then if I buy from my supplier, they're supposed to adhere to the priority level and put my request.
Flow down requirements.
Yep, as like more important.
So ITAR, interestingly enough, ITAR has flow down requirements. Yeah. Especially AS 9100, but quality systems have flow down requirements. CMMC has flow down requirements. It's like a really common requirement. Yeah. So whatever requirement you give me as a supplier, I need to pass it on down through the rest of my supply chain.
What a waterfall all the way through.
Don't go chasing.
Don't go chasing those. Don't gel.
So on the profitability question, this is something that I think is very close
to our hearts.
In which makes sense as an ERP company, right? How do you navigate and like what's the status of the accounting, finance, cost control world in most small manufacturers?
Oh, it varies like anything with small manufacturers. You run the gamut. But I would have to say, my background is in engineering and I have an MBA, and to come into a company and not see good financial controls and P&Ls and balance sheets, and to not see that is always kind of shocking to me. Like, how can you run a company and not know those things? Companies that actually do cash accounting, it's shocking. I would say in general, not as strong as I would expect. If I were a business owner, I would be like all over that stuff. Most of them aren't.
You shared that anecdote at lunch about the you get a call from somebody like, oh, I've grown 30%, but I only have $3,000 more in cash this year. What's happening?
Yeah, I'm the revenue line is way up. Why isn't the bottom line?
Income's not.
Yeah.
Well, if you look at your expenses.
Yeah, and I've said, do you know what your COGS are? Do you know your cost of goods? Do you know? And what do you mean? What is that? Yeah, it's amazing. You see it sometimes, sometimes it's multi-generational companies, dad ran it the way dad ran it, and dad retired and now I'm taking over, and, I'm not as into it as he was. Some of that occasionally, but I'm always kind of surprised at how little financial information they're willing to operate with.
Even just, are you tracking the costs?
Yeah.
Do you know where they are?
Do you know which orders you make money on and which ones you don't?
That's my key. Like, I'm very disappointed that is a very hard question for most people to answer.
Sound like my father.
Disappointed? You're disappointed.
Yeah. Sorry, Dad. Well, I'm trying.
Which leads to the second half of that, which is to say most people don't like to admit that. Yeah, they don't like to, it takes a lot to get them to call and say, "Can you help me dig through the financials?"
Yeah, that's true. Huh. So what's like how, I mean, as a software company, like how much, like on the software tooling side, do you find that companies often have, like I assume everybody has something for accounting, and like what we run into, well, I don't know. We run into a lot of companies coming from like QuickBooks and a lot of spreadsheets and realizing like, oh, they don't have a system to do things. And we also run into companies with like a very like maybe ill-used, legacy accounting package or
I had a small machine shop. I'm gonna say less than 20 million a year in revenue using SAP. They major line item and expense. I'm like shocked. Like, who sold you this? Yeah.
World's greatest salesman. Maybe not the world's most ethical salesman, but
No, really, who sold you this?
They comment about, not really using the tool. That's kind of universal. I think that's universal. I think it doesn't matter which software system you're using, not having it be fully utilized is common. Doesn't even matter whose or how appropriate it is.
2 weeks ago, 3 weeks, at some point, we have had a user conference.
In October.
It was in October of 2025. And the number of people in our company who like kind of pulled me aside and hit me with like a wide-eyed, like, I can't believe how little people use of our system.
There's so much capability and functionality there. How can you not, gobble that up? It's there, right? It's in your package. It's free. It's included.
To click on it.
Yes.
Use it.
But I have to click.
Yes.
What is this, click tech?
We're going to get AI to do it for you.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. Maybe that's the connection.
That's what we need. Yeah, that stuff is, I mean, I'm sympathetic as you have 50 employees, you have a bunch of orders, you're worried about all these different fires that are constantly going on, and somebody's gonna be like, well, how come you're not using the integrated NCR module?
I get that one a lot doing quality work. Tell me what your most common nonconformances are. Tell me about your scrap rate. Do you know anything about, scrap rate? Do you know anything about customer complaints? Can you slice those and dice those? Is it industry specific or is it material specific? Or what is your biggest, problem? If we're going to go fix one, if you're going to spend all this money to have a quality management system, and you ought to be able to get some benefit out of it above and beyond saying, yes, I have it, and here's my certificate. You should be able to say, how has it made my business better? And an easy one is, what's your most common customer complaint? And can we go fix it? Do you even know what it is?
Yeah.
I've got, once again, another metal fabrication company, about 25 million a year in revenue. They do $500,000 a year in customer returns.
Oh, wow.
And really trying to convince them, but we're doing great and we're growing like crazy. I'm like, yeah, but $500,000 in customer returns and rework. And that's just the customer return. But then there's all of the, the rework and sending a person out and the 3 people that you keep on staff to respond to those issues. And when you add up the total cost of poor quality, it's huge. But do they have a way to see that? Do they know that it's there and can go after it?
That's tough.
Yeah, I did that rework presentation for the wire harness processing trade show, and did kind of a cursory review of like some of our customers, and it was like the costs were pretty high on like. And this wasn't even really digging into, okay, what's the labor associated to the rework? This was just purely, here's your RMA, here's your return. This is, I think it was like 5% of sales often.
Oh, wow.
And then then you add the cost, the inventory, the labor.
And your overhead, yeah. If you're, some companies put overhead on labor, some people put overhead on material, and some people just kind of ignore it. But if you really look at overhead as it applies to those things, yeah, it adds up really fast.
Yeah, then you say like not using the full utilization. I was really disappointed at how few of the fields they were leveraging on that. It's like, this would make my job reporting so much easier.
Which is interesting because I would say that's my primary observation, and their primary complaint is that reporting is hard. And they don't have the reports they need. They're not canned. They're not readily available, or they just don't know they're there. But I think that's kind of the missing link. They have this system. They used to keep putting stuff in it. They just don't feel like they ever get anything out of it.
No reward to the...
Yeah.
And my experience, going back decades, 2 decades, I always believed that ERP software people made their money doing custom reporting.
I thought you were gonna say something else.
I gotta go.
That's why it's not in there, is because I make way more money if you hire me to build you custom reports later.
Oh yeah.
Instead of like just putting reports in the system, right? Because there's so many reports that should be standardized and could be standardized, and in a lot of systems aren't there.
Oh, this is if I could.
Yeah, definitely not.
Not you.
The our legacy product, which was written in the early 70s, in Business Basic, big keyboards and the whole thing. Reporting was like definitely pretty rudimentary, right?
Oh, you had to have a person on staff who could run crystal reports or whatever
Exactly.
whatever it's
something else that does it. And reporting is like a different package. And I mean, this is like the early days of tracking your numbers in the computer. The files are in the computer, right? And this is like, wow, this is a big deal. But like flexible reporting, what are you talking about? We hand coded this thing for you.
Yeah.
Right. Literally, somebody flew out there and like installed some basic things and then said, like, what would you like to see now?
Yeah.
And so whatever that was, that's what you were getting. And like changing that culture where like it was like, okay, well, we can put all the data in a table. You can always export it. You can sort it. You can filter it. And then like, just start. I mean, it's a report. Just go dump it into a reporting engine. Do all these things. Like that's just inconceivable for a true legacy system.
But even that, the whole, you can always export it to CSV, right? You can always export it. So then what? Most of these companies don't have a person who has the time and the bandwidth to take that data in an Excel spreadsheet and turn it into a chart or a graph that is actually visually interpretable and meaningful to somebody. So it's, it's like, yeah, you can always export it. The data's there. You can always export it. But that is a big difference between the data's there and there's a report that's actually meaningful. Yeah.
In our early days, you couldn't export it either. So
not even that.
No, you cannot. It's that's making your data available is, I think, key to making it, operable, hopefully. So
absolutely. Pivot. What sort of trends or cycles are you seeing in Texas manufacturing? Is it what's the stat like? Is it growing? Is it?
Yeah, I think the numbers. So I work closely with the folks at the Austin Regional Manufacturers Association and the San Antonio Manufacturers Association. And then there's a few in the middle, Greater San Marcos and those guys. Opportunity Austin, which is the EDC for the Austin area. And the research that I see from them, as well as Workforce Solutions, they do some data collecting around that. They all say it's growing. Manufacturing is growing, for sure. Think about some of the big seeds that have been planted up on the north side. And, it's sucking in companies from all over the world that want to be close to that ecosystem. So yeah, it's definitely growing. And from an employment standpoint, we continue to have challenges with finding skill sets that are appropriate to manufacturers and filling those roles. They're good paying jobs. They're really good jobs. But, having those people with those skill sets readily available for manufacturers is always challenging. I know the Manufacturers Association has been working really hard on how do we partner up with the secondary primary education system to help recover from this mentality that we got over the last 30 years that everybody needs to go to college, when the statistics are that only a small number of 40% of high school graduates ever even think about going to college, and then the actual go and actually finish is much lower than that. So those other 60%, these are good jobs, right? You can go learn a skill and a trade, whether it's soldering or welding or assembly or lots of machine shop stuff. Those are good trades, but to convince parents and kids that that's an outlet takes, there's a whole generation there of people that have kind of been lost from the workforce. So workforce continues to be a big challenge, but manufacturing itself is growing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned in the pre-interview a lot of training for like production supervisors and like people on the floor, helping to like build up the leadership base.
Yeah, you think of, we're going through a generational change as the baby boomers specifically, and even some of the following generation are starting to retire. Though people that were plant managers and supervisors and that production managers kind of people are beginning to go and retire, and we need to pull up more people from the shop floor into roles where they can supervise and manage. And helping them get those skills and get them quickly, because they're having to step into those roles in a much shorter time frame than their predecessors did. Taking years and decades to get there.
But that's what AI is for, right?
That's what they tell me.
This is like we're taking Gen Z and turning them into boomers. I guess is really the
yeah. We'll just ignore millennials.
Being that gap, the middle child, nobody ever pays any attention to the middle child.
As long as I don't get blamed anymore, then I'm fine. Just let me have my avocado toast.
Well, you're never going to own a home.
Well.
Yeah. Did you follow there was an Australian billionaire? I don't know. And a very wealthy Australian said that millennials will not own homes because they're buying $13 avocado toast.
Oh, that did it.
I know. I've really gotten a lot more joy out of avocado toast, where before it wasn't funny. Now it's fun.
Yeah.
Now it's like, yeah.
It's hot at my house. Avocado toast is quite popular.
We'll get one for the table. Nobody gets a house. Avocado toast. We're doing it.
No, I don't think that's it, but he can say what he can say.
So this is maybe for us. If I could just ask this, we're a ERP company working intentionally with, companies outside the Fortune 1000, SMB manufacturing, and a little distributor. Distribution is also fine, but there are a lot more manufacturers than distributors. So we have simplified our message and we talk about manufacturing. What are the things that you think we should focus on that are would be the highest value for, like an SMB manufacturer in the area?
Reporting. Yeah. People are getting better at putting data in.
They are doing the data collection now.
They put the data in. I remember the very first scanner I ever bought was like $5,000. My shipping department wanted them, and they really wanted two just in case, and they were $5,000 a piece. And I thought, do you have to have two? But now, you can buy a barcode scanner for $50. And so people are scanning, they're scanning in and out of jobs, they're scanning material, they're getting the data in there. They're still not getting it out. It's still not really providing value on the output side.
Interesting.
They can use it to order material. They can use it to plan. Very few can schedule. There's a place where if you can get into the world where you can actually schedule work without, infinite capacity assumptions.
Thank you for saying that.
That would be huge. To actually schedule would be awesome. But
man, we really struggle with scheduling in companies. My personal experience here is when the company is more human oriented on the manufacturing, the scheduling is much harder because like the rate of throughput varies somewhat significantly. And when it's very machine oriented, we can schedule with finite capacity really, with pretty good accuracy.
I come from the lean world.
Yeah.
We preach pull.
Yeah.
You program push.
I will do either, oddly. And we can go forward or backwards on the scheduling. We do all that. But we've just noticed like on the mapping to constraints is when we say finite, we're really attempting to do that, right? And identify that.
But it's all that, to your point about the human kind of stuff, it's that whip control, right? Are they doing whip control? Do they understand whip control? If your plant is completely log jammed with whip, scheduling will never work, right? And so you've got to get them to understand whip control, and they have to understand the, Little's law, getting material through before scheduling will ever work. And the easy part has always been let's just use infinite capacity and not schedule.
Yeah. This is just a lead time by another name.
Yeah, exactly. So those would, I have companies that would love to be able to schedule. I have companies that have bought an ERP system thinking they were going to schedule and they really, really wanted to, and it just never worked.
That's funny.
But I still think reporting is the big one. I think we're better and better and better at getting data in there, and we're really still struggling to get it out. And not just get the data out. Like I said, you can always
actually get value out.
Make it visual, make it actionable, put it in a scorecard format that you can, as a production supervisor, use with your shop floor personnel, that they can understand it and they can make good decisions. Yeah, that would be Valhalla. Yeah.
I'll see you in Valhalla.
I don't know if you'll see me there. What's the one for? Is there like a tier 2 or?
Yeah, reporting would be awesome to really, really see that. Easy visual would be helpful.
Excellent. Cool. Well,
should we do the book?
I want to do the book. I didn't want to cut you off.
Before you teach us about anatomy, do you have a book recommendation?
We just looked it up. The last book I read was Crying in H Mart. Crying in H Mart. So not a very nerdy book, but definitely, grasps culture and, growing up and what it means to lose your parents and have them get older. I'm going through that now. All of my parents and in-laws are in their 80s and 90s and, starting to come to grips with what that looks like and what that process looks like. And so, Crying in H Mart was really, really a good read, beautifully written. And as I was saying, I was just shocked to find out that it's actually the lead singer of Japanese Breakfast that wrote it. Yeah. And what an incredible story about the creation and the coming to life of Japanese Breakfast is kind of built into all that, right? Talking about her life as a musician and beginning to put together a band and that kind of stuff. So that was my latest. I recommend that if you feel like, a good easy read.
Yeah. Taylor, I think we should write a book, Crying in HEB.
Crying in HEB.
There's no crying in HEB.
Crying in Trader Joe's.
I was going to say, HEB is where you go for joy of fresh squeezed orange juice and fresh tortillas. There's nothing to cry about at HEB.
My HEB has no fresh squeezed orange juice.
Oh my God.
Yeah, they're very regional, and mine is.
Oh, I was in San Antonio earlier this week, and I went into what I didn't know, but was like a really new HEB right in downtown San Antonio. And they had not only fresh squeezed orange juice, they had an entire selection. I could get carrot orange and pineapple orange, and they had a whole selection of fresh squeezed juice.
Juice bar.
Wow.
Get juiced.
This is my book. It's called Anatomy of a City. And you know the author, David Macaulay? Did you ever read these books? They're books kind of for kids, for nerd kids, though. I think he wrote a book called How Things Work.
Oh, How Things Work, yes.
It's like the woolly mammoths all over there, and he's trying to explain the concepts. This is kind of like that, but for for city infrastructure.
Oh, really? So talking about sewers.
Exactly. This goes through Manhattan and looks through.
Does it talk about like steam distribution?
Yeah, that's in here. That's in here. Central steam. You've got bridges, tunnels, how they get water in, how they get trash out, how communication works. It's all here. It's all here. Electricity and like just kind of peeling through the layers.
There's some super fascinating stuff in there.
And the reason that I think is kind of relevant for those of us who are in manufacturing, or at least orthogonal to manufacturing, is just thinking about the weird dependencies and intricacies around how things come together. Like we deal with a lot of companies that make wire harnesses, and like, like I think the first time I told my family, like, I'm going to go on site to help this company, like, what do they make? And it's like, they make wire harnesses, and everybody kind of like just blank stares at you. It's like, yeah, and literally they're in every.
Like those things at the climbing gym?
Yeah, exactly. You're perfect. And like everything has a wire. It's like you're touching literally everything. You think about just like how many little subsystems there are behind your entire world, and how all that ties together, and it's always kind of fascinating. So
that I might have to dig that up. That would be really. That's the kind of nerdy stuff I would be into.
Yeah, it's a fun one.
There's a great postmortem on the building of DIA.
Oh wow!
The Denver International Airport.
Yeah.
Our last really, 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 really big project. It's a tome about 3 inches thick, but it's an engineering postmortem on.
We say that they're done.
I don't think so.
There's still quite a lot of construction there.
No, they're never. I don't think they're ever going to be done. It's never finished, But everything that went around, how do we get a new airport made, and what's in there, and all of that stuff. How do you take a farm and turn it into a giant airport?
Yeah, the entitlement on that is a fascinating legal grab they did, which is very Colorado politics too.
I actually started reading it because BAE Systems, who was the one supposed to design this super automated
baggage bit that did not work,
never has. I always wanted to know, having lived in Denver so long, did they ever actually fix it? I always said, look, every engineering project has startup problems. They're always rough at the beginning. I said, they're going to fix it. They're going to figure it out. They're going to get it. And they never did.
It was so DIA is like this massive airport in Denver. They closed, what's it called? The old one, and Stapleton, thank you, turned it into, a little development. Much like what they did in Austin, or we did that with our inner city airport called Mueller. And we went out to the airport out here, Bergstrom. Denver did this on a much larger scale, right? And they like, if you look at the city of Denver, there's like the city of Denver, and then this little one, like it's a line, the road, Pena Boulevard, and this another massive thing. They purchased all this. And like the whole cornerstone was this new baggage system, fully automated everything. And it's gonna have you put a bag on and it'll tag, and the robots do the rest.
It was carts and conveyors, and they were all supposed to be bar coded, and it was automated. You put your bag in a tub, and that tub got assigned, that barcode got assigned to where it needed to go, and it was just going to go there by magic.
Yeah. And those of us who travel a lot learned you just don't fly. You don't take a connecting flight in Denver. You don't check a bag. You just stay away from that airport, and eventually they'll figure it out. And the way they figured it out is they just went back to the old system, which is a bit like an ERP system where you think you're ahead of the curve and you're going to do all these fancy things. You're going to do all this stuff, and then you're failing on the basics. And you think about engineering complexity around all that and systems and stuff.
Like I said, I was the one preaching, they're going to figure it out. Just give them enough time and money. They're going to... No engineering project has never not been completed. They never finished, never figured it out, which boggles my mind. Today, the speed at which we can process this stuff, and, I'm like, are you going to try again, right? There's a little company here in Austin, I hope I get their name right, Tubular, maybe? Who is a little startup that are building conveyors in literally a piece of pipe for material handling purposes, right? To move material to and from a manufacturing operation kind of thing. And they're making it work. All right. Come on. Yeah. So that's very cool. Yeah, a lot of things a lot of people don't understand and appreciate.
Anatomy of the city. All right, well, thank you all for joining us. This is the Build Your Way podcast by Cetec ERP. You can find us on YouTube and Spotify and pretty much anywhere that you would normally find such things as podcasts. Thanks for joining us. Until next time.
Build your way.